Hi George, it's Gwendolyn here. Really great to see your next set of essays. Also, thank you for including your error list. I had a look through your error list that was really comprehensive. Great to see that you've been keeping that up since the start of the course. I hope you found that useful in terms of looking back on where you need to focus your attention on. Let's go ahead and look at your last set of essays today. Let's start here with the task 2 on traditional schooling. I thought you did a good I thought in terms of the task response, George, you came up with some good ideas and some good examples, and you definitely looked at both sides of the issue. I would like to see if we can work on making those ideas come across a bit more coherently and more cohesively, maybe just a bit more concisely, changing up the paragraphs just a little bit to get the message across quicker. And also to include some more language that relates back to the task response. I thought that was probably the area that needs the most improvement in this essay. You've got some great vocabulary words, and I think the grammar itself was pretty good. So let's go ahead and read through it, and I'll give you some pointers where I think we could improve on the coherency. So in the introduction, I noticed you left off the sentence here at the end. This essay will look at the issue, look at this issue using examples from Harvard and the UK Entrepreneurial Office, etc., etc., etc. So really would like to see that back in there. You're a little did really good on the word count this time. So I think to include that, and also just to make your introduction more concise and to the point, I would take this kind of opening line out and then go straight into your first line, which will be talking about what you're actually going to be talking about. That's kind of supplementary information. You're not really going to be talking about how education can drive children's success. What you're really going to be talking about is this section. So start here. Whether the current educational system is effective for a child's development has been a topic of debate, maybe in recent years. I believe there are certain options that can refresh the curriculum, and I think here we just take out this phrasing here and keep curriculum. Curriculum agenda is kind of like having two nouns there, which is a bit strange. I would just say refresh the curriculum of academic institutions. Moreover, in my opinion, the traditional education has lost its sole purpose and it is damaging students. And then here, this essay will look at this issue using examples from Harvard and the UK Entrepreneurial Office to demonstrate points and prove arguments. It's really important to have that summarizing sentence in your introduction there. And then here, George, I would like to still see some sort of transitional phrase here going into your essay. Maybe here you could have, to begin with, comma, having a proper educational AL system. Having a proper educational system can lead society to prosperity. And then, George, you kind of go on to these two sentences. So it's kind of almost like they're similar ideas, but slightly different ideas about what the alternative options could be. I think based on your example, I would like to maybe just stick with one of these options and then go into your example. So here I would say having a proper education system can lead society to prosperity. If some current classes in school were replaced by others, such as including team activities or implementing outdoor classes, children are more likely to develop problem-solving skills and boost camaraderie. Take for instance recent studies by Harvard that showed 85, so there's a dash in there between the 8 and the 5, 85% of children who assisted to untraditional education program colleges. It's a strange combination of words there. I would say, take for instance, recent studies by Harvard that show that 85% of children who attended untraditional colleges are taking over senior and director level positions in companies. This fact reinforces the idea, so you need your rest of your subject there, reinforces the idea that changing topics and teaching methods can develop creativity to solve problems and skills to belong to a group. So I think that was pretty good, George. I still would like to maybe add more language, more relevant to the task response here, because what we're talking about in the task response, are there alternatives in the education system? You've talked about them, but you weren't really clear about what those alternatives were. You were talking a little bit more about how those alternatives can benefit individuals. So maybe, if I was writing this paragraph, I would have said something more along the lines. To begin with, alternative educational methods can help lead society to prosperity. For example, if some current classes were replaced by others, and then kind of go into it a little bit more. Some sort of reference to the alternatives instead of just kind of going into them, I think would have been useful here. So get your P2. Additionally, traditional topics such as mathematics or science are not common to be used in real life. Yeah, I know what you're trying to say here, but again, it's sort of maybe the combination of words here. Maybe I think really what you're trying to say are not regularly used in real life instead of not common. So yeah, additionally, traditional topics such as mathematics or science are not regularly used in real life. Even if advanced mathematics are taught in classroom, students often fail to use them after their studies. Watch your pronoun there. Being in a classroom learning useless topics is a waste of time, hence it is damaging for children, as they can actually be learning useful tools to develop skills. For example, the UK Entrepreneurial Office has shown, HAS, new word SHOWN, has shown that recent graduates often lack common sense and innovation to solve problems. Yeah, I don't know, you've included this yet, they can perform low-profile jobs. I'm not sure how that's relevant to the task response or your idea, so I would kind of take that phrasing out and to a full stop there, and then just some sort of summarizing paragraph that relates back to the task response. From this, it is clear to see that the traditional education is definitely doing more harm than good. Obviously, paraphrase it a little bit better than me. In conclusion, education methods and topics must change for effectiveness. Team activities and useful topics could drive society towards success. Good conclusion there. Yeah, I mean, you had some good vocabulary throughout here. Curriculum was a good word. It's great to see that. You had a range of vocabulary. Implementing outdoors classes, prosperity, which was good. You had the entrepreneurial office, which was good. Yeah, good job on the vocabulary. Your grammar was really good. Just really want to try to make your essay more maybe more cohesive, a little more relevant to the task response. But fairly good job here. I was being very harsh on you, George, just because I want to try to get you to that next level. Let's look at your task 1. Okay, George, I thought you did a really good job with answering the task response with this Task 1 on your formal complaint. You did included all of the information. I thought you did a really good job of listing the facts. There was good transitional phrases on the order of what happened, which was really great to see. Yeah, overall a really good essay, some great vocabulary in there. Just a few things I want to fix in terms of maybe some of your word choice and some of the grammar. Dear Sir, Madam, my name is George Aylman, a regular customer of your restaurant. Last week my wife and I went to your, maybe instead of local, I was thinking of another word you could use here. A word I often use is establishment, E-S-T-A-B. L-I-S-H-M-E-N-T. Last week my wife and I went to your establishment to celebrate our first wedding anniversary. Unfortunately, we had, take out this word, we had a terrible experience with the food and the service provided. Usually if you use the word such, you then have another phrase on the end. So, using the word such, you would normally then write something like, unfortunately, we had such a terrible experience with the food and service provided that I feel I have to complain. When you use the word such, sort of an additional kind of phrase or idea or clause then comes on the end of the original statement. So here, because we're good on the word count, I would just take that out. So unfortunately we had a terrible experience with the food and the service provided. Maybe instead of at first I would say to begin with, when we arrived, your valet parking staff were inside the cabin, so after waiting 10 minutes to be attended, I parked the car myself. Just to be specific, I parked the car myself. Being inside, I would use the phrase once inside. It's more natural to the native English language. Once inside, the hostess took 5 minutes before providing us with a table. Regarding our meals, I ordered a cheeseburger and my wife a seafood plate. Good. When our dishes arrived, we realized that my burger had, H-A-D, had no cheese on it, and my wife's dish has barely any sea creature. Yep, good, great to see that you're trying to use some different vocabulary here. It did make me chuckle a little bit though, George. It says, maybe not the most natural phrasing of words that we would see in the English language. What would I have said here? I know what you were trying to say. It just, from an English language perspective, came across. Yeah, it's a little funny. Sorry, I shouldn't laugh. I think here what it was, George, is the use of the word creature, because when you think of creature, you think of a whole animal that you would look at, and not just sort of individual little parts of seafood. So maybe what you could have done here is, and my wife's dish had barely any mussels, prawns, think of some other type of seafood, and you can show off your vocabulary a little bit by thinking of what some of those other seafoods types are. And my wife's dish had barely any mussels, prawns, or octopus in it. Furthermore, both plates were cold. Finally, at paying, the waiter just decided, with a D, to charge 20%, to charge a 20% tip, no of, without consulting us. I would kindly ask you for a total refund of our money, as your cook and service team failed that night. I look forward to your response. Good, really good conclusion there, George. Good, overall, really good essay there. I'm being really harsh on you, George, just because your writing is already really good, and I want to get you up to a level where you sound more like a natural native English speaker, and by helping you with some word choices there. Again, apologies for laughing. I should not have laughed. It just, But actually it's quite nice to have a smile on my face at this time in the morning. So thanks for putting a smile on my face. Right, next steps. I would still like you to go ahead and add any mistakes to your error list, and I'd still like you to go ahead and correct these essays. If you send them back to me, I will look at them and I'll check them to make sure you've implemented the corrections correctly. And what are the next steps after this? Yeah, George, I paused there because I wanted to look back on where you've come. So we've completed 8 essay checks so far. I went back to my notes and I remembered I made a note in the beginning on how you needed to really work on your word choice and your coherence and your cohesion and being relevant to the task response. So I think, you've improved massively in those areas. I'm not as concerned in those areas as I was at the start. So that is really great to see. And I know that you're trying to get the 7.0 so that you can immigrate to Australia. I think you're almost there, George, but I think you still need a little more practice. So I want to help you get there. So what I want to do is we've finished the 8 essay checks in the course, but I want to give you 2 more free essay checks just so we can get through this last hurdle, I think, of answering the task response and getting the coherence and cohesion and choosing the right word choice. So what I'm going to do, George, is I'm going to give you 2 more essays free of charge to write, and I'll check them and get them back to you. Okay? We really want you to get that score so you can immigrate, so I'm going to give you 2 more free ones to check just for that. Good. So yeah, get those back to me and I'll have a look at them. Enjoy the rest of your week, George. Bye for now.